So we are here with the lovely Miss G. We're going to be talking a little bit about the School for the Socially Inept, and so excited to have her there as a host. I think she's phenomenal, and she's just a force of nature. And we're here to talk a little bit about some of the so her stuff is kind of going to be in the categories of like relational intimacy, which is downstream of her thoughts around flirting. And she's a phenomenal flirt coach. So I would love to just hear you introduce yourself. Like, how did you get into flirt coaching? What has your arc been like? What excites you about it? So I'd love to just hear some of that.
Yeah, the story is really great and fun. Um, I was joking about it, and the funniest thing is I've joked about a lot of stuff in my life, and then it's come true. And I thought, wow, I've come up with this new inventive philosophy. And then I saw Visa has already fucking, he's already
Many
tweeted.
such cases.
He's totally tweeting. I'm like, I go on Twitter, and I'm like, oh my God, I've invented a way to live life. And he's like, joke about the outcomes you want. And I was like, but I joked about the outcome that I wanted. I didn't know that I wanted it. I just thought it was funny. My friend went to Goa. She's known me since seventh grade. And apparently there was a very cute boy. And he was flirting with her. And she was like, I really don't know what to do. I think it's because she's a beautiful, statuesque Amazonian goddess. And when we were in high school, that wasn't really appreciated as much. But then, she like grew up and every man is like, holy fuck, like step on me. And so she don't know what to do. Like, how do I respond to like this flirting and stuff? And so apparently, she in her head went, "What would Miss G do?" Except replace Miss G with my real name. And apparently worked. Like she was just like, "What would she do? What would she say?" And it worked really well. And she had a great trip. And she was like, "Dude, like I have like literally a version of you in my head that I can like access whenever I'd like to be better in this space." And I was like, this is the most loving thing I've ever heard in my life. I have never been felt more loved and cared for and like considered. This is amazing. I'm gonna cry, but also that's so funny that like the thing that you used that version of me for was flirting. That's so funny. And she was like, you should be a coach, lol. Like it was like it worked perfectly. And I was like, that's so funny. Like a flirting coach? That's ridiculous. That's so funny. And we laughed about that for days and days, like became an in joke for us. And then I tweeted a screenshot of the conversation on WhatsApp where I was like, lol, guys, should I put flirt coach in my bio? Because I would love for people to hate on me because I love attention and I will take it any way I get. And I needed one person to be like, yeah. And that was it. Like I needed one person to just like it. And I was like, I'm doing it. That's all I needed. I didn't even need that much encouragement. So I put, and I found these tweets too from like years ago. It's so crazy to like see how it's changed. I put in my bio, flirt coach slash extraordinaire, slide into my DMs for consultations. And that was really me being like, please be my wife or my husband. Um, and it was so funny because I thought like it did work dating wise and it did work attention wise. I got a lot of attention. Love that for me.
Yeah.
But I did have a gorgeous woman on Twitter as well. DM me and we're still very good friends. I just don't know if she wants me to like I don't know. But she was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I would I don't know if you're kidding or not, but like I would give you money to like spend an hour with you talking about that. And I was like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? You would spend money to spend time with me? I spend time with people for free. I've been giving people advice for free. This is crazy. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Thank you so much for sharing that with me because currently I didn't even think of that. And I then tweeted like, you know what? That's kind of interesting though. I don't know if I can actually offer value because a lot of people are very good at what they do, but very bad at teaching it. So I
Yeah.
could be very good at it, but maybe it worked for my best friend because she's known me since seventh grade. Like she knows me
Yeah.
inside and out. And so I offered some free sessions and like 50 people DM'd me. And I was like, well, I don't have 50 free hours.
Yeah.
Picked like four people to do. And when I did that, Richard Bartlett, who is an incredible coach as well, DM'd me with basically free advice where he was like, if you really got 50 people to DM you, you need to start like working on this like immediately. Like this is what you should do. This is what you should get. This is like
Oh.
like this and that. And I was like, we don't even know each other, like he just like stood into my DMs being like, this is powerful. You need help. Let me help you. And I was like, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. And so I started like experimenting with pricing and stuff. I was like, this is crazy. Like people really will pay me money. And then, like over the 3 years that I was doing it, I was also doing other stuff. This is the first time that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just do this and like nothing else. I'm not gonna be a radio host and I'm not gonna do any of the other stuff that I was doing. Even though I am doing other stuff. But I'm more intentional now with this. Like this is not
Yeah.
something I do on the side. Um, and it's been the most rewarding thing ever. It's crazy. The best part of it is when I tell my friends, I meet my friends after a really long time, and I'm like, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm a flirting coach." And none of my friends, if when I tell strangers, they're like, "Wait, what?" When I tell my friends, they're just like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense." And I'm like, "You're not shocked or anything?" They're like, "No, you're super weird, and it makes sense that you would make a job out of something that you do all the time." So yeah, good for you.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Oh, I love that so much. I think that that's a really interesting sort of path into becoming someone who offers a really needed service. And I thought it was especially funny because that was, I am not joking, one of my reasons for making Bride Camp was like, I want to find a partner, and these people in this Twitter scene seemed really cool. I was like traveling. I went to New York. I had a meetup. It was like 15 people. It was just so inefficient to like, I'm going to go to this city and meet like 10 or 15 people. Everyone should just come to me. And then it worked. Everyone did come, except that it was like 400 people, and I didn't have time to meet anybody because I was running the event. And so again, same reason, same outcome. Didn't work to find me a partner, but I like brought a lot of value to the world.
Yeah, you really brought a lot of value to the world because you were like, where is my partner? And that's the most relatable thing in the world, girl. Yeah, you end up contributing to the world just because you're like, where's my wife? And that's so fair.
Yeah.
That's so fair.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what are, if you had to lay out some foundational principles of Flirtcraft, what would some of them be?
Great question. I feel very lucky to have figured these things out the more I did this. So
Yeah.
the underlying philosophy, a foundational principle has always been paying attention. It solves for everything. If you're anxious about how you're coming off to the other person, if you're paying attention to them, you don't have space in your brain to think about how you're coming off. Like, oh, my hands are sweaty, or like, did they think
Yeah.
that thing that I said was funny? Like, it's like you don't have time. You're busy paying attention to them and like actually paying attention to them. That's when you're going to be most successful anyway. That's when people are going to feel most seen by you anyway, when you're actually paying attention to them. It just works. Like it I do this because it works, because I figured it out and I was like, wait, this is like a cheat for life, but like also it's not a cheat because I actually care about these people. So this works great.
Right.
So the main underlying philosophy is paying attention. And then there are some other foundational principles that sort of work into each other. So there is play. If you're trying to flirt, um, first of all, try not to try to flirt. Just like move through the world with like a kind of light charm. And the
Yeah.
way to do that is to reconnect with the part of you that played. And like playing is different from sports, even. Playing is different from being an adult, going to the gym, optimizing for
Yeah.
health and strength and fitness. Like play had no winners and no losers, even if as a kid you played tag like 10 times in a row, because it didn't actually matter who ended up winning. Like that's not the point. The point is to have fun. The point is to hide and like run away from your friends. Like there's no actual point. So what does play look like as adults? Every time you ask anyone, they can't think of the last time they played, unless they play video games, but that's still not the same thing as playing as a
Yeah.
kid. I play video games and I'm like, that's not the same thing. You gotta like actually go outside or like do something, like that's play, or do something with your hands or something, but it has to be something physical. So that's really important. That's what makes you move through the world in this way, because you're constantly finding ways to play. And then you realize that you can translate that into playing with people, because that's what really good flirting feels like. Everyone's had that experience. You're at a party, you're talking to some person you weren't expecting to like hit it off with so well, and the banter is flowing, like you guys are really
Oh yeah.
understanding each other, like one person, it's like a tennis rally, right? Like no one's
Yeah.
dropping the ball, and it's really fun. Like technically you don't want to have a tennis rally as a competitor because you want to win. But it somehow feels better when you're collaborating with your competitor, to like not let the drop ball. That's more fun. Not letting the ball drop is more fun than trying to win, than trying to get them to follow
Yeah.
some kind of script, trying to get them to give you something. Like you're flirting with them because they're attractive and you want to date. Nope, that's not a pure motivation. Or you're flirting with them because you want to network with them. Nope, not a pure motivation. The motivation, you can't fake it. The motivation has to be, I think this person is really cool and interesting. I don't know why. I would like to find out why I think that. And I would like to pay attention to them to find out why. So that's how it works in tandem with play. And then for women especially, queer or not, there's this feeling of safety. You know, like we'll end up in a lot of situations because we're too polite. And our immediate response is either freeze response, or it is to like minimize the situation as much as possible. And we've gotten so good at that we minimize our own signals of like, this might not be a person that I want to go on a date with, or I'm comfortable going on a date with him, but like I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that. We don't even know those things for ourselves. If we don't know those things for ourselves, we're not going to have a good time, and we're not going to end up like having a good time flirting because we don't feel safe enough to flirt, right? We don't feel safe enough to play. And flirting is play. So for women, it's usually that. For men, it's the opposite of safety, of like, men are expending all of their energy trying to hold women's boundaries for them. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, that's actually kind of paternalistic, and it doesn't help the flirting. Because now you're not two equal people just playing. One person's trying to protect the other person from themselves, and it's like, well, this has gotten too complicated now. It's not working. And then there is gratitude. I think for me it's important because that's how I got myself to this position of like loving life and like loving people. Like I think it's so awesome that I'm alive and I get to experience stuff, and there's 8 billion people and I will never get to meet all of them, which is so sad. It like irritates the hell out of me. So when I do get to meet an interesting person, I am not letting that time pass me by, because I'm not going to get to meet everyone in the world anyway, and they all have amazing, rich, interesting stories, and I might hate some of them and I might love some of them, but I'd like to know, and I'm never going to know. So when I do meet someone that I'm interested by, even if I really love their shoes, I have to tell them, because I may never see them again, and I have this deep sense of gratitude of like, we were put together on this earth at the same time so that you could wear those boots and walk down the street and I could be like, holy crap, I love your boots, where did you get those, you know, and like you have a great day. We were put on this earth to have that interaction. I will not let that pass me by. So that gratitude is important, and then the end is storytelling and curiosity, and they go together. If you're not very good at your own story, telling your own stories, figuring out what your stories even are, what your narratives are. Everyone has stories that they tell their friends, like even if it's just like your last breakup, right? Like you have to now meet all of the people that you haven't seen in a while since your breakup, and then they're like, how's it going? And you're like, oh, we broke up. And then they're like, oh no, what happened? And you like, you refine the story every time you tell it, right? You're like, so this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. Like you have like different versions. You have the 1 minute version, the 5 minute version, the like, we're gonna like, shit on this person for 3 hours version, right? Like it's different. But we have all these stories. If we know how to tell them and we're good at telling them, then we get very good at figuring out other people's stories for them and helping them tell their stories. So if you make a person feel seen by paying attention to them and being sincerely curious about their stories, then they get to tell you stories that they then end up saying, you know what, I've never told anyone that before. I don't think I've even articulated that to myself before. And all of a sudden, you've had a very special interaction with this person. And you may never see them again, you may never meet them again, but they'll always remember you as that person that helped them figure that out. And isn't that worth it? That's flirting.
Yeah.
That's worth it. That's important to me, that I'm like, when I'm on my deathbed, every person I met, I was able to give them something. I was able to give them a smile, a laugh. Like I was able to help them process something. I was able to just like be supportive to them while they were going through something difficult. Like I couldn't help because I don't have the tools, but I was there. I was present. And to me, that is flirting. And a friend that I made recently was like, oh, you're a liar. You're a liar. You say it's flirt coaching, and it's like all of these other things. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I am a liar. Yeah, I'm lying. But it does include all of these things, in my opinion. That's like my philosophy. So that's what I end up trying to impart to other people as much as I can.
Yeah, I think as so I did this with Taco Bell yesterday.
Yeah.
We did one of these sessions, and that was one thing that I kind of realized is each person we're bringing in as a host, all of their classes kind of follow like a central theme,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of them, maybe even all of them, paying attention is probably the core thing, or like the thing that is upstream of everything else. And I think that's one of the things that's really valuable about just doing any kind of development work is learning how to pay attention, learning how to like just be in the moment, be present with what's happening in your body and those kinds of things. I did have a couple of things I was thinking about when you were talking about the paying attention bit.
Yes,
One
please.
is I've been taking this public speaking course, and it's sort of in the back burner right now because I've been
seeing
pretty
your tweets
busy.
about it. It seems
Yeah,
like you're having such a good time and you feel like you're really growing as a person. It's super fun to see.
yeah, for sure. And one of the really interesting things I remember her saying early on in the course was that people, when you're up on a stage, people are only going to be sitting there criticizing you, thinking about all the things that you're doing wrong if they are not feeling connected to you. So, and that really stuck with me, because I sort of through this work I've been becoming more aware of when I get anxious and what it looks like for the people, the viewer, the person that I'm speaking to, whatever, when I am anxious. And there's sort of like, and I think about people, when I am around people who are visibly anxious, I don't feel as connected to them. And so like that's something I sort of have been thinking about, and reminded me of the pay attention thing when you were talking about like that's how you get people to be connected to you. That's how you get them to like be focused on what's happening in the moment, rather than thinking about all the things you're doing wrong. Is like being in connection with them. And then one other short little anecdote. I remember going on a walk with somebody, and this was somebody who was from I put him in the meditator bucket, so I was kind of surprised. He was seeking a spiritual path, so I was a little bit surprised that this happened. But we were going for a walk, and he kept moving closer to me than I was comfortable with. And so as we were walking, I would move a little bit far, and then he would move a little bit closer again. I kid you not, we fully zigzagged across the street twice. So there are some pretty low hanging fruit in this paying attention category.
It really is. It's like it's so funny because sometimes, listen, I love men. They're so cute and I love dating them and I love spending time with them. But I do, when I'm like doing a little bit about what I do for work, I'm like, it's so funny. Like I basically get paid to tell men sometimes, have you considered paying attention to the women you're talking to? And like it's not that. It's not. All of my clients will tell you that's not what I'm really lucky that like because of the way that I think I talk about it on Twitter, I've never had an issue with people coming to me that like are looking for something else. Like they're very self-aware people that are like looking to like be better. They're like husbands that want to be flirtier with their wives. They want to be more romantic, which is just the sweetest thing in the world. Like I'm obsessed with when that happens. Or like even partnered men or even partnered women who are like poly and they're like, like I'm really comfortable with my partner, but like I'm struggling to like go outside and like, experience. I want to flirt with people. I get too anxious. So all kinds of stuff, right? This is so classic. This is so classic of like, you are paying so much attention to yourself because you're meditating and you need to, that you currently just don't have the capacity to also pay attention to the things around you. And depending on what someone's going through, like 90% of the time, the answer is we got to practice paying attention to our surroundings, to people. You're worried that you're making someone uncomfortable. You know how you cannot be worried about that? By being so good at observing people that you can tell if someone's uncomfortable and back off before it becomes an issue, right? Like that's the only solution. Yeah. What's the other solution? That you just never approach people that you're interested in and you're like afraid of rejection your whole life? No, sorry, like we can't do that, right? So we got to figure something out. And the only option is that you get so good at paying attention, you have a database of like, tones and body language and all that, and it becomes second nature to you that you can like observe these things and almost instantly pick up on the energy and be like, hey, I'm gonna go get a drink. Like I'm gonna head up, right? But this is it's just so funny because it's so classic. 10% of the people I talk to, I'm like, you pay too much attention to other people. You need to pay attention to yourself. Are you flirting with yourself? Do you like yourself? And like, are you flirting with yourself? Not just like, yeah, I like myself. It's like, no, are you looking in the mirror and being like, God damn, that is one sexy motherfucker. If it's not to that point, it's not enough. We need to get to that point, So.
I had a I don't know if you saw my tweet recently about the about getting hit on at the club the other night.
No, I
Um,
didn't. Ooh, what happened?
oh, I so the tweet was something like there were a couple men who were being like very flirtatious with my friend and I at this event we went to, like lingering waist grabs and like cheeky butt slaps and stuff like that, and it was like
Oh,
in a way that made us really feel comfortable,
okay,
like
good,
confident that
good.
they would instantly respect a no. It was you know, and I explained this in the comments a little bit. It was at the end of the night when I tweeted that, but I explained in the comments a little bit more that it was after several hours of like flirting and
Good,
talking
good.
and
Yeah. And that's when it's
but
fun. Like when it's like we've established enough intimacy and trust that like I can let you slap my butt and I will enjoy it. Please
yeah,
do.
yeah. But what I didn't talk about in that thread is that night was, I hope, a turning point for me, because I have been feeling, I gotta be honest, like when I turned 36, I started feeling insecure about my age in a way that I had not before, and I have been sort of feeling like just generally not very attractive and that kind of thing, and then by the end of that night, I was smiling flirtatiously at everyone I made eye contact with. They'd come up and dance with me. I exchanged like contact info with like 7 different people. People asked me out on dates. I mean, it was just, and it was why it was this chicken and egg thing
Yep.
where all I needed was to feel confident and do the flirting with myself and just be like, this is how I want to be showing up, and it'll work. And I needed sort of like to feel attractive in order to make that work, except I needed to have that confidence in order to be attractive.
Yeah.
So
No. It's
yeah,
it's so funny because everyone this is so common. People are always like, no, desire is the root of all suffering, and my hot take is that desire actually heals a lot of emotional problems. When you feel desired, it solves for everything. It solves for a lot. Not everything, but it solves for a lot. When you feel desired by someone and you actually trust them, um, it makes you feel confident, it makes you feel more attractive, which makes you far more likely to be more charming and more flirty with everyone around
yeah,
you. And there's all this built up energy now. And that's why you're smiling at everyone and dancing with everyone and talking to everyone, because you're like, I have all this energy of like feeling attractive and pretty and like fun, and I want to share it with people. I want to
yeah,
make people feel that way too. I want them to feel confident and fun and attractive, and like I'm really interested in what they have to say. So when you feel that way with yourself, like I feel like I've literally described it in New York City. It feels like I'm going to explode because everybody is so beautiful, and that's why I come here, because everything, I think beauty is noble. I think the pursuit of beauty is noble. I think being around beauty is noble. It just makes you a better person. I don't know what it is, but pretty hot models walking down the street, I'm like, God, thank God, thank you God, like this is, thank you for letting me witness you on the street. This is amazing, and it makes me want, like I feel like I need to like go and share this with the world. So like, after you've had, for most people I think it's like after you hang out, you have a girls night out, or you've hung out with the bros for like a whole day, right? You feel so fucking good. You're like, I just had the best day with my homies. I'm walking home, and you have all this energy still because you're like, that was so awesome. I love hanging out with my
yeah,
friends. And usually that is the time when I am the most flirty with the world, because I have all this energy that's waiting to be let out, and I don't have friends to share it with because I'm on my way home. So I literally physically can't help myself from like picking one person and being like, I'm obsessed with your look, or something like that. And then we end up talking, and I'm like, where did you get that? What do you do? And it is what it is. Like recently there was someone she looked very pretty, but she was on the phone, so I was like, all right, whatever. Went out of the cafe for a smoke, and I saw the back of her hoodie because she was also walking out at the same time, and I was like, wait, I love that Punjabi rapper. That's like the best Punjabi rapper. I was like, wait, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Are you a Diljit Dosanjh fan? And she was like, shut up, I am a Diljit. Are you? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, wait, are you Indian? And I'm like, yeah. Are you Indian? And she's like, yeah. And it was awesome. And like I made a friend on the street. She's from Delhi. I'm from Dubai. We've like all we both have moved around like a lot between the US and India and like other places. So it was so cool to like meet someone, and we were talking about other Indian rappers that like people that are not Indian don't really know about, but they're blowing up right now, and I'm like, I feel so proud of them. Like as if like they're like my like Indians, we take credit for everything an Indian does. It doesn't matter how far removed they are from being Indian. We'll take credit for all of it.
yeah.
So I just think life is so much more magical, right? Like, didn't those hours feel so good? Like, it was like, what if it was like this all the time? I could do this all the time if I wanted to. You don't have to,
Yeah.
But it's good to know that you have the agency. You can switch it on and off whenever you'd like. Of course, there are times that I'm tired. I'm not. I think someone's awesome, but I'm like, I'm too tired. I want to go home and play video games. I don't have the energy, and that's fine because I know that if I did want to turn it on, I could. And so I'm not gonna feel like I should have said something, or like even if I had said something, it would have been something like, like because I'm so self-doubting and like I don't have trust in myself. And yeah, so that's a lot of the work too. Like a lot of the work ends up being very therapy adjacent. It's like, what's blocking you? Where are you feeling that in your body?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of therapy adjacent, I kind of want to dig into, because I was actually just thinking about this earlier this morning with, you mentioned pure motivations. So I think, I mean, it's kind of something that is difficult to put into words a lot of the time, but it's pretty immediately apparent if somebody, and I don't know if it's extractive is the right word to use. It's almost like that's how it feels. I get people sometimes who want to work with me or with Vibe Camp, and it becomes pretty clear that they see this scene that they think I have like access to as a resource to be exploited.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, and I think of that as somewhat similar. I get the same feeling in my body when I pick up on those vibes as I do when when there's somebody who's like clearly they are only interested in dating. I get people DMing me, asking me for advice on how to hit on people sometimes or how to slide into DMs, and I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm kind of weird, so one, I don't know if you want to like listen to my advice, but two, like, why don't you just like pick up something that they said and like ask them questions about it, show genuine curiosity, like, well, I don't know, I have enough friends, and like, so it's those kind of things. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. Like, what can you do if what do you tell people if you feel like they are approaching, making friends with women or whatever from a purely like, I want to date this person or I don't want to be friends with them. Their motivations are not pure. What do you do?
Yeah, I make it very clear, I think, in the first session or even in the first like consult that we have, like the main priority here. I don't know if you can hear the car alarm.
It's okay.
you walk, baby. I'm sorry. But it's, you gotta be outcome independent. That's my phrase for it. You gotta be outcome independent. You gotta go in with it with no outcomes already planned in your mind. If you do, best of luck. It may or may not work. And I don't know, it feels kind of skeezy to me sometimes because I've always said, like, at least with women, we might not be able to articulate what feels off, but we do know that something feels off.
Yeah.
Like, we know
For
that
sure.
there's something that you want from me. There's a script that you want me to follow. And when I don't follow it, I can see your body tense up or, like, try to bring it back to that or whatever, right? Like, it's just, like, I can see what's happening. And it's kind of condescending to, like, think that I can't tell. Like, I can tell. I might not be able to articulate it, but I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, now obviously I can articulate it because I help people with it. But I'm like, most women, they're like, oh yeah, that is what it is. Like it's like he wants something from me, and the more he wants it, the more I'm like, fuck off. Like, I don't want to, like, you're not interested in me as a person right now. You're interested in what I can offer you later on if you invest in me right now, which is like, I'm not a stock. Like, this is not, like I don't feel like a human. So being outcome independent is really important. Saying it is really easy. Doing it is very difficult. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's kind of wooey, but that's who I am. You just gotta kind of have, you just kind of gotta have faith that you, like, if you continue to live life in this way with this philosophy of being open to the world, of being outcome independent, of just like giving people love and attention for no reason, like as a gift. It's as a service.
Yeah.
If you flirt as a service, or the word that I actually use is seva. Seva has the feeling that I'm trying to say more than service. People have weird connotations with seva. Is, it's kind of like volunteering. You have to do it. It's a spiritual religious concept from Sikhism and Hinduism, but I was raised with it. It's when you serve for the pleasure of serving. That's the pleasure that you get from it. You serve people, you serve your community, you serve your family, and it's important to intentionally decide how you're going to serve them. This is one of the ways that I think you can do seva. You can make people feel good about themselves. You can make them feel like they matter and they're interesting and that they felt desired. So that also solves for like even if you're like, this person's attractive, I want to talk to them because they're attractive. It still solves for it by treating it as seva, because if someone's like, oh, I have a girlfriend, it like, I'm like, that's not, it doesn't matter, like, that's not why I'm here. I'm here because you're beautiful and I wanted to let you know that. And it's like, good for her and good for you. Like, I really wish you a lot of joy. Please show me a picture. I like want to see how cute you guys look. And people are sometimes taken aback by like how easily I could take that in stride. But it's like, yeah, because I didn't actually come here for anything, so it doesn't really matter. Like, that's not, it's okay. I appreciate you sharing that. I will make sure that I will, like, be respectful of that. But I really only came here to tell you that you have a beautiful face and you should be a model. If you're not already a model, you should do that. And it's like, oh, I have a girlfriend. And it's like, okay, cool. You should be a model, though. I don't, I'm not trying to do you. It's easier to, like, live life that way. And you kind of just have to believe that when you live your life that way, that it will lead to you finding the perfect partner, if that's what you're looking for. Because you're becoming the person that partner would want. Wouldn't they want a person like that? Your perfect partner would probably want someone like that. So you're turning into that person, a person that can genuinely appreciate other people without wanting something from them. So that tends to help a lot of the knots around, like, but I want a wife. And it's like, okay, cool. Have you considered, it's like optimizing for finding a wife, optimizing for finding a husband. And sometimes I'm like, you should optimize for being happy right now instead of optimizing for future happiness with romance. Have you considered being happy now instead of optimizing for future happiness? And it's always like, and I'm like, I know, I'm so good at this.
And I found that in my own life when I often have hopes. I start a thing because I think it might help with and I'm thinking mostly professionally right now. This is kind of like how a lot of the things that have happened for me have worked out, where I start a thing for one reason and then like I'm not married to that outcome, and then something else comes along, or like this public speaking thing. I'm not sure if this is the best example, but the timing kind of just perfectly worked out. I started doing it because my intention is to talk about my history. Like I want to write some talks. I want to kind of become a speaker that way. Mm-hmm. And it's the timing has just sort of worked out because I've got 2 events that I'm running. This month is going to be the most frantic month of my year. And it just happened to work out to where the module that we're in now is just like it's much lower key. It's like watching stuff on how to do interviews on camera and lighting and things like that. And it's just like and I had no idea that these were going to be a thing that I was doing. And I started the course for that one reason, and then look, it's like actually useful for this other thing. And I feel like I feel like that's maybe not a perfect analogy, but I think that's similar to what happens when you're like, oh, like I'm hoping that this works out in this certain way, but also if you start doing it, so much more can unfold in your life as a result.
Oh my God, exactly. Yes, I think it's a perfect analogy. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like sometimes you don't find your romantic partner, but you find a person who believes in you as a person, and you find a really incredible friend, or you find a collaborator, you find a creative partner, like all kinds of things can happen if you just allow yourself to explore why you were interested, why you were drawn to this person, and if it's not romantic, then what is it? It could be something else, and that's totally fine too, because also you need to believe that love is not like a pyramid with a hierarchy structure, where like romantic love is at the top, then it's friends, and it's family. That's not how that works. It's a lot more complicated than that. I don't like the word complicated. It's a lot more expansive than that. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. Yeah. There are all kinds of love that you're going to experience. They're not all going to be romantic. And in a way, moving through the world in this way allows you to inhabit a lot of gray spaces with a lot of comfort that you wouldn't have been able to before. Like I have some friends with asterisks, which I refer to as friends where like we're both like, yeah, if things were different and like life was different and we were different people, I guess, like, life had just not worked out the way that it did, we would be lovers in another life. However, we are not in that life, and I really enjoy you as a human person. I'm not blind. I think you're attractive. You think I'm attractive, but I love you as a human being, and like I'm so excited to be your friend. Like this is awesome still. Like I don't care. And sometimes you don't even have to talk about that with this friend. It starts off flirty, it starts off sexual tensiony, and then at some point you both, without speaking about it, kind of decide, I'm going to be really good friends with this person. Like that's just how I'm feeling right now. That's just how it's going to go. And no one is disappointed. There's no friend zone for anyone here. Like it's actually a collaborative energy process that you don't even talk about. You don't even, and I know if you don't have friends with asterisks, you're not living your life hard enough. You should be having friends with asterisks. You should be. Why shouldn't you? All my friends are hot. How could I not be attracted to them? That would be crazy. You know, like I flirt with my number one people. Like that's why my friends were like, yeah, that makes sense, because I've been flirting with them all the time, like constantly. I used to love me gassing them the fuck up, making them feel really good about themselves. They were like, yeah, it makes so much sense that you're a flirting coach. We can't go do one single normal like 15-minute chore with you, because it'll end up into an hour and a half. You know why? Because in the 15-minute chore, while we're walking to the bodega, you're gonna talk to about 5 people on the way there. You're gonna get their life history. You're gonna exchange contact info. You're gonna become best friends with the bodega guy. You know, he's gonna give you something free. You're gonna be like, no, I gotta give you something in return. Like, it's gonna be an hour and a half. We can't even go do like regular shopping trips with you because you're impossible. So that makes sense. Yeah, of course you're doing that way. But like, life is so big and lovely and expansive and full of people when you live your life that way. As I tweeted recently where I was like, I finally got back to 47 people. I made a list. And I still wasn't done.
I was one of them.
Yeah, you were literally one of them. Literally, I have a list in my journal that says Brooke, check. And I was like, I'm not even done. And there were people that were like, oh my God, like 47 people. Like I would talk to that many people maybe in like a year, or like, you know, like you gotta drop some people. And I was like, no, you gotta live your life with, I mean, this is the best part of being alive is other people. How can you not want to be around? I used to think I was an introvert. Can you believe that? How can you not want to be around them? How can you not want to like at least stay in touch in some way, shape, or form, even if you don't get to see each other for years and years? I love all of these people. Even if I met them one single time and we got one coffee, I'm like, I'm obsessed with you. That's why we got the coffee. I don't get coffee with people I'm not obsessed with. I don't spend any time with people that I'm not interested in spending time with. So if I'm talking to 47 people, I love every single one of those bitches.
So I'd love to hear a little bit what goes into, like, what does an average, if there is one even, what does an average coaching session for you look like? Like, what is kind of like, how does it work? And do you have any, you know, don't betray any confidentiality, but do you have any success stories that you can share?
Oh, yeah. So it goes, we'll have like a 15-minute consult most likely. Most people will get a 15-minute consult. It's free. We can just talk about what's going on if I'm the right person for you, because I have a very specific way of imparting this knowledge. So if it doesn't resonate with you, then we really shouldn't waste your time or your money. It's like all good. One thing that's really important to me is that I want to make myself redundant as soon as possible. I don't want to be like a therapist I have had therapists. This is not that. You know, this is like something very specific that we're working on. It's a very intentional skill. It's a very intentional way of moving through the world. So I want to make clear that, you know, we want, like, it also makes it a little bit more serious, not solemn, but serious. It's like, do the homework that I give you, actually go and do the stuff, because I really don't want to do more than 6 to 9 sessions. You know, like, you really shouldn't need me for longer than that. And that's really the max. This is really because I will be left with nothing else to give you. There's only so much that I can help with, after which I would be like, maybe a therapist would be great. You know, like, there's only so much that I can do. I'm not a licensed therapist. Like, there's only so much that I can share. There's only so much that I can help with. And so the consult is basically like clearing those bases, and kind of I give the spiel of what I do. So this is great. Essentially, depending on how many sessions you'd like to get, we'll try to find, the main thing is we got to find your block. Everyone's block is different, but I truly believe that the most natural way of being is the way that I am. Like, I'm biased. But, flirting is natural. Talking to people is natural. Giving people compliments is natural. Not taking rejection personally is natural, because kids do it all the time. That's how I know. When a kid goes up to another kid on a playground and is like, hey, we're playing hide and seek, you want to join? And that kid is like, nah, I kind of want to stay here right now. That kid does not give a shit. He's like, all right, peace. I'm going to go to the next person. Like, I don't care. You know, like, I'll find someone else to play with. Of course, there are nuances there. But, like, mostly kids are not like, you must hate me specifically because you don't want to play with us. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's the natural way of being. So there's something blocking you. Something is making you not be that way right now. Probably a lifetime of accumulated narratives and stories that served you at some point but don't serve you now. So we just gotta like dig a little bit, find out what the gap is. What is the block? What's the thing that you're afraid of that's gonna happen, or what's like stopping you from being this way? It's not always fear, it's shame, or it's optimizing for happiness without actually like experiencing the happiness in the moment, all kinds of stuff. We gotta figure out what that is. We gotta solve for that. And the solving for that is like kind of like Marie Kondoing that narrative. You can't be like, fuck this feeling, and like I hate being afraid, and I hate the story, and like I'm never gonna listen to the story again. That's not gonna work. It's gonna come back with like twice the force that it had before. You gotta like actually like my favorite lyric is "Fear is a friend who's misunderstood" by John Mayer, because it's true. All of your negative feelings are just friends that are trying to that were trying to help you, and at some point did help you. It's just that you've outgrown them now, and that's okay. We just gotta figure out how to be like, thank you so much for protecting me and for saving me and for keeping me safe. Sucks to say, but I don't need this right now, at least in this particular arena. So I'm gonna say goodbye, and I'm gonna say thank you so much for taking care of me and being a great friend to me. But I'm gonna take a break for a bit from you and like pick some other stories that are like more helpful, and then we build that story together, like what that story is with actual evidence. A lot of these stories don't have evidence propping them up anymore, so we gotta find the real evidence. We gotta prop up a new story, and we gotta really like commit to that story, and then we work on other skills. So the main thing is always paying attention, so that's infused into everything. A lot of homework with paying attention, depending on what your relationship with it is like. Some people are very, 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 very self-aware to the point of intellectualizing everything, and I'm like, you need less attention. You need to live your life. You need to be in your somatic body, right? So you need to pay attention to other things, most likely you and not other people. But most of the time it's paying attention to the things outside. So it's a lot of homework. It's a lot of like, go and do this very specific activity that I've tailored for this very specific purpose for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long you want to take to do it, and then come back for the second session, and we'll unpack what you felt, what you went through, and we'll figure out if it helped some of the block, dissolve some of the block that you have. Then we do other things. Everyone, it's kind of like different. All of the things that I mentioned earlier are all things that everyone has in certain different percentages, like a skill tree, right? Like some skill trees are more filled than other skill trees. So some people are really great at curiosity, very sincere curiosity, but they struggle with romantic intention. So they're like, I can talk to anybody, like I'm great at that. I can do that already. It's just I'm struggling with being able to flirt with someone. And like being playful, and it's like, because you don't feel safe, probably. What would play look like for you, right? So then we have play homework, like go do something where you can't win, and we'll figure it out together. An activity that you can't win at, you can't optimize at it, you gotta just do it because it's fun. What's that gonna look like for you? And then you gotta go do it a lot, and then you gotta see, whoa, this feels awesome. That's what flirting feels like. It just feels awesome. You're not looking for anything, but if something happens, that's a great bonus. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Gotta do it for the love of the game. So then there's all these other skills, like curiosity, storytelling, gratitude. We'll work on those depending on like what you are struggling with. And generally that's where we come to a conclusion. And ideally at the end of our sessions, if the favorite thing that I can ever hear is, I feel like I can breathe better now. That's all I need. You feel like you can breathe better? Good. That's what we're looking for. You feel like you feel a little lighter in your body? You feel like you can talk to people a little bit easier? Hell yeah. Absolutely. That's what we're looking for. In terms of success stories, it just had a person that came to a salon, and not even for the whole time, which is crazy, tell me like it was specifically the playful flirting thing. They were like, I'm kind of worried about that. So we worked on that a little bit in the salon with Intellect. And 3 to 4 days later, they were like, "Oh, BT Dubs, that was exactly what I needed. I found the love of my life after that, and like had some of the best sex of my life." And I was like, "Wait, what? What?"
Amazing.
I was like, "Are you for real? Like, are you dead ass serious?" And they were like, "Yeah, like I'm so serious." So I was like, "What? That's crazy." I like have match made my friends, and they are married, so that's like one of my things I like to put in my resume. Like I have multiple friends that got married, and one of them One or two of them are people that actually met each other because of me, and one of them specifically, I actively made them get together. Like, that is entirely my success story. Every time I see them, I've known them for years. Like, it's been almost a decade. Actually, yeah, it's been a decade. So 10 years, and every time I see them, I'm like, you're welcome. Aren't you so happy that you have each other? You're so welcome. Where am I not being set up right now? Like, what the hell is going on here? And they're like, yes, it's you're the reason we're so happy. Like, thank you. Like, we got married. Oh. And I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. That's all I needed. But yeah. And in terms of, well, there's different success stories, right? With like very different blocks that people have had. But some of my favorite success stories are people that are like, my relationship got better after I did these sessions with you, where like my partner is so much happier because I'm able to show up in a way that I don't think that I had access to before, and I'm like, you're welcome, girl. Like, I'm doing this for all the women in the world, actually. So husbands and wives and other partners, please hit me up, because your woman is going to be so happy with you after we're done, I promise. And it just makes the relationship so much more sparkly, you know? I think that's the word. It brings back like the early sparks. And I enjoy that very much, being able to do that. That's really fun for me.
Yeah, I had somebody I dated a while back for a couple months, and his brain worked really similarly to mine in a way that I don't often come across, and that was important. Like, that was a big enough deal to me that I really tried to make things work, and there was just no real warmth. There was no real, like, I mean, we spent a lot of time together. We would cuddle sometimes and things like that, but there just wasn't that. I am a hopeless romantic at heart, and if there isn't that play, that like flirtation, that warmth,
if it's not there, it's not there. It sucks. It might be great on paper, but then
right. And it's hard because I love nerds. I love nerds so much. Nerds are my people. I want to date nerds, and a lot of nerds are just kind of stuck in their head a lot, and I think a lot of them don't really realize how much nicer it can feel to be just warm with people.
I agree with you. Yeah. I think a lot of people are, usually when I ask, where are you feeling that in your body now, I will add, it's okay if it's all just up here. And a lot of the times it's like, yeah, it's all up here. I'm like, that's okay, girl. It's fine. We'll work on that. That's what we're here for. And then I pull out a feelings wheel, and I'm like, can you pinpoint? Like, I'm dead ass. I'm like, can you pinpoint? Like, because, oh my God, the number of times I'll be like, how are you feeling about this? And I'll get fine or good or okay. And I'm like, none of those are feelings. Those are adjectives for sure. For things, but not feelings. Those are not even words for feeling. And I know English is my third language, but I know that that's not a feeling. So can you give me a feeling? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, that's okay. That's another thing. I think it's really important. My style, depending on the person, is like gentle bully. Where I will just be like, that's not a feeling. So let's try again, shall we? And they laugh and be like, okay. And it disarms them a little bit, makes them feel a bit like you're talking to a friend who like genuinely gives a shit and is actually a person. That's why I say I'm therapy adjacent. I'm not a therapist. If I were a therapist, I would be a lot more careful with that. But I'm not a therapist. I'm just a person that happened to spend 15 years of her life special interesting in communication because she was so bad at it. And now figured it out somehow and would like reverse engineered how to get there. So, it's hard to be honest. It's hard to be vulnerable, especially when you don't know what is going on in there in the first place. And nerds are the number one thing of that. Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry. Someone is ringing the doorbell. Give me 1 second.
Now we got Miss G reality TV. Maybe a fight will break out. Or a song and dance number? No, doesn't look like it. I think that's a Taco Bell. was that a
Taco Bell,
Taco
everybody?
Bell?
Yeah. featuring Taco Bell.
Amazing. Yeah, so that is one of my big motivations in putting on this event, and I'd love to do more of them and figure out how to, whatever it ends up looking like. But I remember going to a psychiatrist. I only had one session in high school because I could kind of tell that something wasn't going quite right,
off.
but I didn't know what. Yeah. And he was asking me questions about my relationship with my parents, and he'd be like, "How does that make you feel?" And I'd be like, "Mad." And he was like, "No, how does it make you feel?" And I'd be like, "Angry?" And like he just kept pushing on it, and then finally he was like, no, how does it make you feel in your body? Like, that emotions are, feelings like take place in your body. Like, maybe if you're angry, your chest is getting tight, your face is getting warm. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, emotions are words that you use
to describe. No, I remember so vividly the first time that I went through a heartbreak, and I was like, why did no one tell me that your body actually hurts when your heart is broken? Why am I feeling physical pain right now? Like, why did no one inform me of this? I have watched every rom-com in the world. I am an Indian girl. I am obsessed with Bollywood and like romance and rom-coms and all this stuff. And not one of those people said it actually hurts in your chest. Like, it actually hurts for a good long while. Like, it physically hurts. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have I was 17. I didn't have a proper idea of it, but I was like, I just didn't expect it to be so physical, so intense in my body. I was like, I get it now when people are like, you can feel your heartbreak. I was like, I can feel it. No, this is bad. I don't like this. This is terrible. Yeah. And that's what really introduced me to the concept of, that probably means other feelings are happening in your body too. You're just not aware of them.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it was so important to me to put on like a tough girl act that like I would not even be aware of how much anxiety or fear I was feeling, because I wanted to project this like, I can handle anything. And I can handle anything, but that doesn't mean, that it's helpful at all for me to be overriding these signals in my body. And it took me, it's really been in the last like 6 years or so that I've started, I think, getting a more complete picture of what's going on in my body, and like this, and it's really helping with that. You were talking about the safety aspect of this and boundaries, because I had a while back where I realized like I cannot sleep with somebody the first night I meet them and trust that it's going to be something I feel really good about later, even if in the moment I'm like, yes, this is what I want, and which is like, and this is not something where I ever really hold it against the person that I'm with, because like I am enthusiastically saying yes, and it's just that I don't even know what I want, because my body goes in this like fawn mode or whatever, so I have to take some time to think about it later. But the more connected I'm becoming with my body, the more I'm able to in the moment actually be like, is this something I want? Yes or no. And it's really opening up a lot of avenues of me feeling safe flirting with somebody. For a long time I felt guilt over the idea of flirting with somebody and then not having it escalate to something else. I've led them on, things like that. So the more kind of aware I am of what my body's actually feeling, the more I pay attention to that, the safer flirtation becomes, and the better able I am to like express my boundaries, express my interests, and set expectations and things like that, and the safer everything feels.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. In fact, I started doing this and being known as a flirt, which is crazy. Like, if I went back in time to 13-year-old me and I was like, people think you're leading people on, she'd be like, what are you talking about? We can't talk to people. What do you mean? We are painfully shy and awkward. Like, we can't even talk to people that we like love and know really well. Like, it takes us such a long time to like go back to her and be like, so your straight male friends think that you're leading people on. It was always straight male friends where I was like, I think you're leading that guy on. And I was like, isn't it kind of sad that if I'm genuinely curious about someone and like appreciate them as a human person, it always has to be parsed as romantic interest? Like, isn't that kind of sad? Like, I kind of hate that. In the beginning, I felt really bad, and I stopped being the way that I am. And then I think at some point I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like myself. I really am interested in these people. I want to ask them questions. I want to get to know them better. And maybe once I actually get to know them better, I might be interested in them. But I'm not going to just like know that off the top of my head. And I want to be like this more. So like, if it's all flirting, then fine. Then I'm flirting all the time. Fine. Yeah. I make my peace with that. That's okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys, because now I do what I do. Because I was like, fuck it. It's all flirting. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The world, like being horny for the world, being horny for life, flirting with the world, those are important things.
Yeah.
It just there's vitality in the way that you move through the world. And thank you for your tweet where you tweeted what is something that you want to add to the world. Like this is something that you want to do, like your ideal thing. And I don't remember when I tweeted this, but I'm so glad that I did. I think it was like at night. I was like at a party or something and I saw it and I was like, vitality. I want to add more vitality to the world. I
Yeah.
want people to be more, I want people to feel vivacious, like really
Yeah.
content with the world with agency and charm and energy. And you can't do that if you're not paying attention to what agency, charm, and energy even feels like in your body.
Yeah. And I think there's this thing that a lot of people do that I have done in many different contexts where we see something that's attractive in somebody else and for some reason we just never take that next step of, oh, what if I started doing that? We get stuck in these like I'm not that kind of person. But I think that that's like, there's this whole manic pixie dream girl trope. There's tons of tropes and that you can look on and like just people who make other people feel alive.
Yep.
And have that kind of energy and presence. They are, I think, not universally, but often very attractive to the people around them. There's something very compelling about it. And that's a thing that people, I think, often just are suppressing and really could have access to. Yeah.
Whatever they want. Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I know that that's true because I was the person that was suppressing it and now I'm not. And so I know for a fact that you can learn that. You can learn how to live your life that way. That there's nothing that you cannot figure out. There really isn't. And it's so true when you, what you were saying what were you saying in the beginning? Because I had a thought about that. They're
The beginning of
suppressing
that.
They're suppressing that like thing, and they're deciding that they're not like that. Oh my God, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I think flirting and crushes come in. Crushes, in my opinion, are just you really like you can't figure that crush out emotionally by being like, what is it about this person that's driving me so bunkers batshit insane? Like what is it about my feelings that are like being technically triggered, but in a positive way by this person? I will bet 99% of the time it's that they move through the world in a way that you find wildly attractive, and being able to absorb and emulate that will process the crush for you emotionally, and then you can actually decide whether you like them or you just liked that quality of theirs so much that you wanted to be them. Like classic bi girl struggles, right? Like, do I want to be her? Do I want to fuck her? Do I want to be her friend? Like, what is it, right? You can only figure that out once you are able to be her. Like, see the thing about her that you really, really like. You're like, you know what? I admire that so much. I am so impressed by that. Let me try to see if I can do that too. Let me like intentionally put myself in situations where I have to do the uncomfortable thing and respond like her and not like me. And then you can train yourself to like. That's what I did with all of my crushes. I was just like, you're funny. I like that. I want to be like that. I want to be funny. Okay, cool. How is he funny? He is completely shameless. All right, cool. I got to figure out how to not have any shame and just like be funny and like just say the things that I'm thinking immediately, and I have to trust that they're funny. And guess what? That's true. Took me like 5 years, but I'm the funniest fucking person. I'm funnier than him.
That's what I've heard.
I'm funnier than
Yeah,
him.
nice.
He's not even that
Let's
funny
go.
anymore. So, and that was like, I was like when I was 14, it was a crush. But like, everyone has stuff that you really enjoy. Just try to absorb it. Try to emulate it. See what comes up for you. Why not? What do you have to lose?
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much, Miss G. I would love to hear for anybody listening to this, how can we book you as a flirt coach?
Oh, yes.
Where do we go?
Ooh, wow, look at you. Very organized. You can go to my Twitter at Pragueye, PragueYE, and there is a link there, a link tree, and on there is a Calendly, and you can just book me right there. And if you want to DM me with questions, you can always DM me at Pragueye, Pragueye. That's my radio
amazing.
voice.
Yeah, I could hear it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, again, this has been one of our host interviews for the School for the Socially Inept. I'm getting more and more excited about this event. I really want to. I think this is a great concept. This is going to be our flagship one, and it's so exciting to think about what kinds of things are being brought in. These are skills that are so important for just so many things in the world. And I'm just really stoked. Thank you so much. This was an incredible interview. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for being the person that you are, making these things happen. If you weren't here, we wouldn't have these things. We wouldn't have spaces where we could. I know.
Are you flirting with me?
I'm so flirting with you, but I mean it too. That's what makes it special. That I mean it. It is really incredible to see you work. It really is. I appreciate being able to like see. I really enjoy that you let us witness you. You let us see you move through the world. It's a blessing. And thank you so much for doing that publicly and letting us see it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. You are a light in this world. If we had more Miss G's running around, the world would be a better place without a doubt.
Oh
I
my
really appreciate you.
we're just gonna keep going back and forth. We're just gonna keep going. We're never, because now I'm like, well, now I gotta tell you more stuff. Like, this is never gonna end.
Competitive compliments.
Exactly.
I love it. And we have not met in person yet, so I'm so excited. I could have just run this entire event just as an excuse to get to meet you in person.
That would be the best flirting activity in the world. That that would work on me. That would work on me. I would be like, all right, cool, I see you. Yeah, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I hope you really enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, baby. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.